The moment you hear his voice, you'll understand why the world can't stop talking about him. Before this story begins, if even one part of it touches your heart, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel, because stories like these deserve to be heard, and your support keeps them alive. They called him the Filipino Elvis long before he ever stepped on a real stage. Back home in a small town outside Manila, people knew him as Marco Reyes, a 32-year-old food delivery writer with a smile that could brighten even the most exhausting day. Life hadn't been easy growing up without a father, helping his mother run a tiny sari-sari store, and singing at local events just to add a few pesos to the family income. But every night, when the roads quieted and everyone went to sleep, Marco had one ritual. He would close his eyes, imagine the lights of a grand stage, and sing Elvis Presley songs with a spirit so raw it shook the walls of their fragile home. But dreams have a way of testing those who dare to hold on to them. Marco had a younger sister, Lila, who had fallen seriously ill a few years back. Her medical bills piled up, and Marco abandoned every personal ambition just to keep her alive. The guitar he once played daily was sold. The microphone he saved for months to buy was pawned. And the voice that once soared freely became something he hid away, locked behind the weight of responsibility. Still, unknown to many, whenever Lila had trouble breathing at night, Marco would sing softly to calm her. She always said the same thing, "Kuya, one day, everyone will hear you. Promise me you won't stop singing." Marco never promised, because he was afraid he couldn't keep it. Years passed, and Lila's condition worsened. One evening, as heavy rains pounded their tin roof, Marco rushed her to the hospital when she suddenly collapsed. They needed treatment immediately, but the cost was far beyond anything he could pay. Helpless and desperate, Marco turned to the only thing he had left, his voice. He began recording short videos of himself singing Elvis classics in hopes that maybe, just maybe, someone would hire him for gigs or help with donations. The first few videos barely got 100 views. But then, one day, he recorded himself singing "Can't Help Falling in Love," with tears in his eyes, sitting beside Lila's hospital bed. That clip changed everything. The video exploded overnight, crossing millions of views. Comments flooded in from all over the world. People said his voice carried the soul of heartbreak, the warmth of Elvis, and the honesty of a man who had lived every lyric. Just like that, the internet crowned him the Filipino Elvis. Among the countless messages he received, one stood out: the official audition invitation for America's most famous talent show. Marco froze when he read it. Lila wasn't strong enough to travel. Money was still tight. And what if he failed? But when he told Lila, she grabbed his hand with what little strength she had left and whispered, "Kuya, this is your chance. If you don't go, you'll break my heart more than any sickness ever could." Those words cut deep. And so, with fear and hope battling inside him, Marco accepted the invitation. The night before he left for America, he stood outside the hospital, looking up at Lila's window. He whispered, "This is for you," and promised himself he would return with something, anything, that would change their lives. The next morning, he boarded his first ever international flight, heart pounding as he watched the Philippines shrink into a patch of clouds. Arriving in the US, everything overwhelmed him: the towering buildings, the unfamiliar cold, the noise of a world so much bigger and louder than the one he came from. But nothing shook him more than seeing the massive audition hall, filled with thousands of people chasing the same dream he was. For a moment, his confidence crumbled. Who was he among them? Just a delivery rider from a small town. Nothing special. But then he touched the old rosary Lila had given him and stepped forward. When Marco finally walked onto the stage, the audience seemed curious but unsure. His clothes were simple: black pants, worn leather shoes, and a white button-up shirt that didn't quite fit right. His hands trembled so much that even the microphone shook. The judges exchanged looks. One of them asked, "Why are you here today?" Marco swallowed hard and replied, "I'm here because my sister believes my voice can save her life." The room fell silent. He took a breath, closed his eyes, and began singing "If I Can Dream." The first note was soft, fragile, almost breaking, like a man standing on the edge of his last hope. But as he continued, something inside him ignited. His voice grew warmer, stronger, deeper. Every lyric carried his fears, his love for Lila, the years of sacrifice, and the weight of a dream he had kept buried for so long. The audience leaned in. The judges slowly put down their pens. People in the back wiped tears from their faces. Halfway through the song, Marco's voice cracked, but not in a bad way. It cracked like a heart trying to speak after being silent for too long. That moment, raw, unpolished, real, sent a shockwave through the auditorium. By the time he finished, the entire room was on its feet. The applause didn't just fill the space, it roared through it. One judge had tears rolling down her face. Another whispered something like, "That wasn't singing, that was a story." Marco stood frozen, overwhelmed. He had never heard applause like that in his life. When they finally gave him their comments, one judge said, "Marco, you didn't just perform. You made us feel." Another said, "Your sister must be incredibly proud." The third leaned forward and added, "This isn't the end of your story, this is where the world begins to hear it." The clip of his audition went viral within hours. People around the world reposted it with captions like, "The Filipino Elvis who made the judges cry," and "This man just broke the internet." His follower count exploded. Donations for Lila's treatment poured in faster than the hospital could track. Fans created edits, duets, reaction videos. Every corner of social media was talking about Marco Reyes. Back home, Lila watched everything from her hospital bed. Nurses played the video for her again and again. Sometimes she laughed. Sometimes she cried. Sometimes she whispered, "That's my kuya, finally." Marco advanced through the competition, each performance more emotional than the last. But while the world celebrated him, he carried a fear deep inside. Would he make it back in time to see Lila again? Her condition was unstable, and every call from the Philippines made his heart tighten. Still, he kept singing, because every round he survived meant more support, more attention, and more hope. Then came one message that changed everything. Weeks before the finale, Marco received word that Lila's surgery had been fully funded by donors who were moved by his journey. He collapsed backstage, tears falling uncontrollably as he whispered thank yous into the empty air. For the first time in years, he felt like he had given his sister something good. The night of the finale arrived. Marco dedicated his last performance to Lila, "The Wonder of You," one of Elvis's most heartfelt songs. As he sang, images of their childhood flashed in his mind, running through muddy streets, sharing cheap ice cream, Lila clapping every time he sang, even when he missed notes. By the final chorus, Marco was crying openly. The audience cried with him. Even the judges couldn't hide their emotions. He didn't win first place that night. But he won something far greater, millions of hearts, the love of an entire country, and the chance to change his life and Lila's forever. When Marco returned to the Philippines, he rushed straight to the hospital. Lila was sitting up, healthier, smiling wider than ever. She whispered, "Kuya. I told you the world would hear you." He held her, shaking from relief, realizing that music hadn't just saved her life, it had saved his too. Today, Marco tours around the world, singing not just as the Filipino Elvis, but as a reminder that dreams don't disappear, they wait for the right moment. And sometimes, all it takes is one voice, one story, one chance to change everything. And to you watching this, if this story touched you even a little, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Because somewhere out there, another dreamer is waiting to be heard, and your support might be the reason their story begins.